Welcome, welcome everybody to the Zoom lecture, Shared Heritage, Designing History. Please be seated since the lecture will begin shortly. For those you don't know me, my name is Charles Ho, the Loyalty Program Manager from the WSJ and today's moderator. And for those you do know me, Charles speaking here from the WSJ, the Loyalty Program Manager, also today's moderator. Could I start with one necessary dull housekeeping rule? Just simply be seated and we will begin really much shortly. We're delighted having you here, all of you here tonight to the Shared Heritage, Designing History, the Zoom lecture. This Zoom series is really important to us because it speaks and engages to our readers, culture lovers, especially arts lovers, since it's the very first ever regional program by introducing arts cultures to our regional members and audience. Obviously, all the cross-culture, cross-continental elements are to be my favorite. So let me introduce our guests joining us tonight. I am Van der Beer, Consul General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Hong Kong and Macau. Adrian Choi here, Director of Adrian Choi Design Studio. And Jacob de Baan, Director of Studio, Jacob de Baan. Hi, Jacob. So I would really like to especially thank the Consul General, Maria Jiang of Maria Jiang Chinese Art and the FYP team of City University English Department, since we could not have the webinar happening tonight without the tremendous support from all of you. Few of the very best partners we are having globally. So it's now my great privilege to introduce Dutch Consul General Ian Van der Beer, who plays an important role to expanding the geographic footprint of Dutch culture to the region. Welcome to this virtual section. Could you please join me welcoming him on the virtual stage, please? Thank you.
Hello, I am Arjen van den Berg, the Consul General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Hong Kong and Macau. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce two events to you. They are both part of this year's Dutch Days Hong Kong program, curated by Asia Art Hong Kong. Dutch Days aims to connect the Netherlands and Hong Kong through people, minds, arts, culture, and anything that can bring us together. I applaud Candice Lee and her team for all the extra effort that has gone into this year's program, which has a different form due to pandemic measures. On Wednesday, November 17th, Dutch Days Hong Kong will present a webinar called Shared Heritage, Designing History. In this fireside chat, Charles Ho of the Wall Street Journal will talk with Dutch designer Jacob de Baan and Hong Kong designer Adrian Choi. Both designers seek to connect past, present, and future so that we may be well-informed curators of what is still to come. For Jacob de Baan, traditions are innovations from the past. For Adrian Choi, the past is a constant inspiration for his innovative creations. They will discuss their creative processes through which they hope to create new traditions out of old ones. Enjoy. Both webinars promise to be great connectors of cultures and minds. I hope you will join in and participate. The Consulate General is proud to be associated with both these events. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. So, let me introduce tonight's first speaker, Adrian Choi here. He will take us through his journey into design and heritage, utilizing current surroundings as a way of innovation. And he will also share good samples on how he got the sources of his inspiration. Over to you, Adrian.
All right, thank you, Charles. So yeah, I'll just dive straight into it and talk a little bit about the historical side and the heritage side of design, and introduce to you this series of furniture that I produced called Early Toe, which is heavily linked with that, and kind of share a little bit about my background as well. I started my career as a gallerist, specializing in collectible design. So this was in Europe, and it was things like mid-century Italian or modern French furniture. And about 6-7 years ago, I came back to Hong Kong, and I opened my gallery here on Hollywood Road, which is the Antiques District here in Hong Kong. In terms of collectible design, that didn't really exist here. So on Hollywood Road, if you walk around, all you'll really see are like the antique, like Ming or Qing Dynasty furniture, or ceramics. So everything is at least 100 years old. And because I sold the mid-century Italian and the modern French, I kind of noticed, or kind of just a light bulb hit. I was like, hey, how come there's no mid-century Chinese or Art Deco Chinese or something of the equivalent? I kind of just spoke to a lot of the antique dealers about it and learned a little bit about the furniture making in China. And it seems like everything after the Qing dynasty comes to a stop. So you have the Ming dynasty, which is like the peak of furniture making in China. And then Qing dynasty, which is an even more ornate version of it. So during this period, they're making Coromandel screens, lacquered thrones, exotic wood furniture. And then at 1911, it just kind of stops. And then only recently, in the last 10 years, when that train resumes again for collectible design, you have digital art, 3D printed chairs, stainless steel furniture. And for me, that connection, or there's like this 100-year gap, and it's almost as if there's very little reference point between these two periods of time. So for me, I was quite fascinated by learning about all the antiques, and I kind of wanted to close that gap almost, because what I see nowadays in China, or what you consider collectible design, they aren't intrinsically Chinese in the traditional sense, but they represent the new China, or the China today. And I feel that lack of connection with the Qing or the Ming was something that I wanted to kind of bridge together, and kind of reignite some dialogue with the past, because it's a culture that I find so fascinating. So period of history that I decided to pick is called Early Tao, and this is about 3,500 years ago. It's the beginning of civilization in China. And so when you look at these pieces, you wouldn't think they're really Chinese. They kind of look Mayan or Aztec, because they're all inlaid with turquoise. So I have a little screen share for you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about. There you go. So on the left, you can see the pieces that I'm talking about. So this period in history was very famous for these masks, or these ritual objects, during the Bronze Age. And for me, it was really important to learn as much about these pieces as I could. Go to see the pieces, handle them, because in order to, if you understand them, it's a lot easier to appreciate them today. So it's a bit about this kind of reverse engineering process, where I want to take the core elements of it and understand why people appreciated it back then and how they appreciated it. And so I can use that and bring that forward to the present day. And that in turn will kind of create that dialogue with the past. It'll make a lot more sense. So to elaborate a little bit more about that, I've included some photos here on the right. So these are the mines in China where I sourced the turquoise from. And this is in Anhui, which is quite close to the excavation sites where the masks are from. And this was really, really important for me because I could have picked synthetic stones or spray painted them or something. But I found that having or being as truthful as I could to the past or as faithful as I could, that's what's going to create the dialogue. So to elaborate on that a little bit, when I was talking to the workers or the dealers for the turquoise, what was quite interesting was to hear how they appreciate the stones. Like the patterns in them, and then the different colors, the 5 different colors, and kind of comparing that with the point of view from an antique dealer or a historian for these pieces, and they would give their share about it. And it was interesting to see the similarities. So it's this kind of dialogue, or these are the kind of dialogues that I kind of want to bring up when I'm creating a new piece. Even though I'm recontextualizing these pieces, like because I'm creating furniture, I want to grab as much as I can that's essential to that culture and bring it today and kind of create new dialogues and new conversations based on that. So I have a video, I can show you the pieces. If I just close this, and I can kind of go through a bit more what I'm talking about. There you go. Okay. I'll switch off my video because it might help with the bandwidth a little bit. But I'll kind of talk to you guys through my work, I suppose. If I just play the video now. So this is a setting of 2 of my pieces. And as you can see, there's a cabinet on the left and a bench on the right. And this is kind of the setting I quite like how to display my pieces, because this is where you get to frame everything into perspective and kind of see, create new conversations. So here is a painting by Zhao Wuqi. So this is a triptych, and if you don't know, if you're not familiar with him, he's a very famous artist from China, very heavily influenced by the West, but still carries that Chinese spirit of ink paintings. And to me, this is something that I feel is very reminiscent of the ancient. And it's almost, has some like prehistoric qualities to it, kind of like the cave carvings. And just below it is a blade from the Neolithic period. So this piece is about 4,000 years ago. This is around the time I'm basing my designs on. So this is something that I'm very much captivated by, its nature and its personality, you could say. And then finally, back to the 21st century, this is my cabinet. So just starting off here, you can see all these stripes, these bronze stripes. It's actually cast from a piece of slate rock. And the texture, to me, it's very reminiscent of the ancient, which is something that I really want to highlight over here. And as I mentioned before, the stones, I sourced them from Anhui in China. And you can see the colors are also very reminiscent of the pieces. So you have some blue, some greens. The green pieces have a bit more iron in them. And then the blue ones has a bit more copper. So you'll notice that all the stones are very highly polished, and it's a very tedious process to do. There's about 5,000, 6,000 pieces on this one. And kind of as a little nod to the past, just like the mask, you'll notice that the stones are getting larger and larger as you approach the center, which is just like the style of the mosaic pattern that they would have used back in the day. So at the center there, yeah, you'll see a little gap. And that's how the doors open. So there you go. You can see the cabinet is being put to very good use. Have your tequila, your whiskey, more whiskey, and a nice bronze trim in the center. So it's a very different piece to the plaques, but I really tried to take, I suppose, all the necessary elements from that and kind of re-update them into a large-scale piece. And then here is the early toe bench from the same series. So as you can see, the stones, same stones, and this time they're getting smaller and smaller as you move to the center. And then the feet, this was inspired a bit from my background, from Italian mid-century glassmaking. So if you're familiar with Fontana Arte, Gio Ponti, Max Ingrand, Pietro Chiesa, you'll definitely see the homage that I'm kind of paying over to them. And that's also part of what I like to do, also fusing Western cultures together with Asian aesthetics. So those are the two pieces here I'm showing you today. And I hope that kind of gives you an idea, kind of what I'm talking about, taking like the core elements of the past and kind of like bringing them today, and creating new conversations, new dialogues, because I don't want to just make a table, paint it red, and that's very Chinese, you know, and put dragons and gold accents. That's very, very Chinese. But it's more like the culture of appreciating antiques is what I want to infuse in my work today. So that's my little intro. I hope that gives you a good idea of what I do.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, I've got like number of questions I would like to chat with you at the Q&A section. But before that, for the time being, I'm also very pleased to introduce the second speaker of tonight, Jacob de Baan. He will share the design projects with a number of museums and associations. In his view, traditions are innovations from the past. How do we see the birth of new traditions? Jacob, can you guide us through from your presentation? Over to you.
Yes, Charles, thank you very much. Well, first let me introduce myself shortly where I am. I'm in Delft. I live and work from Amsterdam, but I'm coaching, in Delft on the Technical University on the Industrial Design and Engineering departments. So that's where I am now. I will continue teaching with the students after this meeting. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I like to open it, and I will from that I will try to share with you my story. I'm very happy to be part of this, of course. And Adrian, I'm really inspired by what you showed.
Thanks.
I'm very happy. I was one time in Hong Kong. I admire the work by what we see there. So I'm very happy to participate. I'm going to open my PowerPoint now. Yeah, is it working well? I'm just checking.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, already Adrian explained. Charles explained. I'm working for museums. What I will do now, I show a little bit of my work. It's not a long time we have. I'm already more than 25 years in the industry, but I took 3 projects just to show my vision on tradition, what is the theme of today. Already starting with the Almond Blossom by Vincent van Gogh. I worked for many years for the Van Gogh Museum. I found out Willem van Gogh was in Hong Kong not long ago. I think in your same lecture series. I worked with Willem van Gogh for many years in my role as design manager and art director for the shop, and later design manager for the whole museum. Well, an overview of my work. I do 2 things. One is design management, and you see a number of clients here that I'm leading teams. I'm working with clients. I'm connecting teams from designers, creatives, with all kinds of people in organizations. This is an overview of some of the institutions and companies I worked for. But as well, and today I will show 2 projects that I have a strong connection with heritage. And I'm a product designer as well. Here you see an overview of some of the companies or design labels I work with over the years. So it's quite a collection. And from those, I will show as well 2 product designs. And one is even from a Chinese company called Designer Alliance. But I come to that. Well, traditions. Charles already mentioned my vision on it. I see traditions as innovations from the past. Meaning, I'm very interested in what's happening in the past. I think when I was not educated as a designer, I would have been historian. So by nature, my father was a historian. By nature, I'm very interested in the past and what was all there. And here you see 4 images, and each of them refers to one of the projects I'm going to share with you. 3,500 years ago, Adrian, the Egyptians and the Chinese started more or less the same time. I will share one project inspired by Egyptian heritage, or even 2 projects, and one by Van Gogh and one about Delft blue. And for me, traditions are inspiration for my design. So I really want to know more, not even only traditions, but even human biology. It's a combination of why things are in the past like they are, I believe, and why still this is very from our times as well. So traditions are not old-fashioned. It's not old-fashioned for me. It's very alive, very vivid. Well, I have 3 projects, or 4 projects. 130 years ago, more or less, it's the year that Vincent van Gogh died. 300 years ago, more or less, the Delft blue started there. A strong connection, of course, to China. And 3,000 years ago, or even longer ago, I have some Egyptian inspiration. Let's start with something from over 3,000 years ago. And my fascination is for this perfect shape that people then created. It's very obvious, of course, But it was not easy for people in the beginning of this, that made these big constructions, that they found this perfect angle. In the beginning, the pyramids had different shapes. They were not completely technically or physically, or the gravity, it was not a good, they tumbled down, they didn't survive. But this specific shape, with this specific angle, which is, I guess, a 4 to 5 step up, so 4 to 5 degree, happened to be the perfect shape for a pyramid. And the first pyramid is even 3,000, almost 3,000 years before Christ, and has this shape. And for me, this shape that is so perfect, that connects so much to the human understanding of what is perfection, of what is nature, or the perfect balance between circumstances and shapes that appear under these circumstances, lead to a shape that everybody understands and goes directly into the belly. So that's why we maybe are so fascinated by these pyramids. So what I did is I just simply copied, if you want, the shape of a pyramid into the shape of a lamp. And I can tell a lot more about this lamp, that light comes out, how it all works, that it's a flat lamp so that you can really put it from a flat box. It's now in the collection of Designers Alliance, which is a collaboration of many Chinese lighting industries nearby. And it comes in many shapes and dimensions, and it's a modular system. I like mass market. I like to transform history to a mass market thing. So I want to should look for common feelings, common things that we all share, more or less unintentionally. And just we love it because we cannot even explain it. And it comes in many colors and color lighting effects. So it's a lot of a big collection made out of only a few simple parts for mass markets. So soon it will be spread out over the Chinese market. So maybe in your city as well. And it was recently launched at the China Guzen International Lighting Fair. I'm not sure if I say Guzen correctly. As you see, it was a lot of press attention, and the lamps were now, it's done for a Chinese label. I like a lot to work for a company over there. Let's go to my second project connected to Egyptian heritage. And that's about the fascination the Egyptians had for the sun. As you can see, the sun is a very important aspect in their culture, in the understanding of culture. They had the god of the sun, it was the sun religion by Akhenaton. It's a lot of things going on, but when I look at the sun, and that's what I like a lot to do as a designer, maybe to look a little bit more carefully, what is really the sun look like? And wherever you look in hieroglyphs or in Chinese, in Egyptian art, the sun is always an ellipse. It's not a circle. So maybe it's interesting to talk about this later with you, Adrian, about, for me, these images of the Egyptians are more or less like drawings from the past, or sculptures from the past, just showing what they saw. And what did they see? They didn't know the sun was a globe, or they didn't know the sun was a circle even, but they could see the sun when it was on the sunrise or the sun go down. And then it looked like this. So they just make a drawing what they saw. And I even checked with children, when you ask a child to make a drawing of the sun, it draws an ellipse like this. So it's very deep common knowledge, common sense in people. So when I design a lamp, which I did, and I design a lot of lighting design, I took that shape and directly transformed it, or copied it if you want, into a lamp design. And that makes the lamp very attractive for people, I hope. So to really study nature, to really study old examples, what people observed, in this case, the shape of the sun, I tried to transform to another sun, an artificial sun, if you want, which is a lamp. And this design I created for HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW. And I will tell another story about, or share a story about HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW with you later. By the way, it's very nice to be part of this talk again. I really like it a lot. So here you see, as a step to the next project, how Delft blue painting is done. In fact, what I do in this design is I make a combination of two heritage bundles, so to speak. One is the Egyptian idea of how the sun looks. The other one is a 300-year-old tradition of Delft blue painting, which itself had a lot of exchange with Asian ceramics, of course. And here you see the artist in Delft, from this company, HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW, not in Delft. You see him making the decoration, so it's a handmade piece. So not a mass market product at all. So I like to make more objects in smaller quantities as well. Let's go back 300 years ago, already the step I made with my own design for this company. But now I want to share a project as a design manager for HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW. And the Delft blue came up more or less 300, 400 years ago. So sorry, it's not completely correct, 300 years ago. But what was happening with this company, which is the main supplier of Delft blue ceramics in the Netherlands, is that they wanted to understand better their own connection to the Dutch clients and the European clients, and a little bit less to the touristic clients. So they asked me to help them with this process of branding. And as you see, first of all, I was, of course, interested in what's happening there. And you see, Delft blue is put on the ceramic with black tones, gray tones. And then it goes from, this is a study we make to prepare for the corporate identity of this company, that from black, when you put it in an oven, it goes to blue. And this storyline, in a way, was used for the branding, for the packaging, for all the things, because a lot of shops from this company in the Netherlands and even in the Caribbean, there is a shop selling these products. And we came up, or not we, but the design agency that I supervised came up with this kind of patterns taken from old traditional signs and transformed it into new packaging ideas and new graphic style ideas, and a new logo type, a new tagline, as you see, creating new traditions. And here again, a tradition is seen as an innovation from the past that is revived. And young designers or product designers were asked to design new products for the Dutch market that this was approved, but with a touch of Delft blue in it, Delft blue tradition. So Geke Lensink designed this set of service, and Debbie Wijskamp created this one. And this is mass market products again. So this is just for people at home to eat from, to put in the dishwasher, to put in the microwave, etc. So it's a different ceramic mass, not the mass that is used for traditional Delft blue ceramics, but it's differently. But as you can see, we create new products and we create new traditions if you want. Okay, I like to share you now. I'm coming closer and closer. 130 years ago, again, Vincent van Gogh died 131 years ago, I believe. So I thought there was a nice link between the three. Well, I worked for many years for the Van Gogh Museum, first in my role as art director of the shop. In that role, I collaborated very intensely with Willem van Gogh, the great nephew of Vincent van Gogh. He was, and the Van Gogh family anyway, is very closely related to the museum still. And I asked in my role as art director, but later as design manager, to the curators, because the idea was to develop a new corporate style, new packaging, new everything, digital media, and so the whole communication box was revived. I asked the curators, what are the key works in your collection? And that was a very new question for them. Nobody ever asked them, what is the most important works of Vincent van Gogh in the collection? And this is the overview they came up with, not only the paintings, but as well the drawings and the letters by Van Gogh. And then I asked them which colors are very obvious in those paintings. And they decided these are the colors to use for can you take from the work. So that was not my role as a creative. I was just asking questions as a design manager to them, supervising the whole project. And then I asked them what kind of strokes did Vincent van Gogh use. So we used all that, we gave all that, or I gave all that to the design agency that had to design the new corporate style, day.com. And they come up with this combination of the colors, of the strokes, of the whole story. There's a lot to share, of course, about it. If you want to know more, please go to my website or go to the website by Van Gogh Museum. You see all the expressions of the brand over there, and that was my work as a supervisor or as a design manager. Of course, we came up with an idea for graphics of products and all kind of items that had to be developed, but it's not so much time now to share too much about that one. So I'd like to thank you. It was a short presentation. I hope it gave a little bit an idea of what is my position, and I think it's very interesting to talk with Adrian, because I feel similarities, but maybe we have nice discussion areas as well. So thank you very much. If you want to know more about my products or design management activities, please go to my website. Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, Charles. Stop sharing. Yep.
Thank you, Jacob. It's been a wonderful journey, just like in the last 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just like traveling through like a time capsule or time machine, traveling from the past all the way to right now, 2021, year 2021. We can simply believe that. So before we really kick off on the Q&A for all the attendees here tonight, feel free to drop your questions at the Q&A box so that we can address all those properly. So let me kickstart with some quick fireside chat questions.
Yes.
Jacob and Adrian, let me know the best color you love. The best color.
The best color I can share with you. Adrian, you want first?
Go ahead.
Well, my color, because I like light, is the orange of the sun that goes down, because it's relaxing for people. So when you need a good color to relax, choose orange, and I love it.
Yeah, and one of the Dutch color, I believe.
Well, of course, yeah, that's by accident. Huh? I don't know that was a choice.
How about you, Adrian? Best color.
For me, for the purpose of the talk as well, but I'm really in love with the color turquoise. I think it's it's also a very calming color as well, and it's not one of those obvious, it's not a blue or a green. It's kind of like in between.
We can feel the subtlety in between.
Yeah. I just find it, let's say from a decorative standpoint, it's such a nice accent, color to have around the home.
But Adrian, I guess we have a similar thing there, because the work, the almond blossom that I just showed in my presentation is, of course, the color.
Yeah.
You love so much. So
yeah.
I'm sure both of you share something in similar. So next quick question, best materials in your work. Maybe Adrian?
I'm a fan of all the traditional materials. So bronze, that's wood. These the natural living materials almost, that patinate, that kind of age better almost over time.
Some sort of organic material.
Organic, exactly.
For your work.
Yeah, not less not dead like plastic or but these are materials that it's like wine almost. Mm-hmm. The more you touch, the more you interact with these materials, they improve aesthetically as well.
Yeah, gotcha. So how about you, Jacob? Best materials you'll be using?
I work for a Turkish design label. It's called Unica. I really advise you to maybe visit the website. And they work with leather. So leather from cow leather, and it's in a sustainable way. And they make beautiful objects in a long tradition there. So I love the leather as a material. I even designed a lamp for them in leather. And they are really very capable of doing so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Jacob. So go back to Adrian. If you got to choose materials or craftsmanship, if you could only choose one, typical one, just quick one.
Craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm. We can tell from
because
the product's finishing.
That to me that carries more significance for me than the material.
In terms of the transformation of the idea.
Yeah, that as well. There's so many different materials, but the way that you manipulate it, that's just as, or if not more fascinating as a designer, in fact. And that's what also creates, I didn't know, I never expect to see, just referring back to my pieces, they're almost like giant antiques or giant jewelry. because turquoise is actually mainly for jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like the craftsmanship of and like the journey, and going from point A to point B. That's the interesting part for me.
Yeah. So how about you, Jacob? Materials or craftsmanships?
So it's I completely join Adrian there, the craftsmanship, and I think about the Charles Ink chairs. Of course, there's so many copies of them. These wooden chairs, but it's really about the craftsmanship and the way they are made, that they are so important and so valuable. So you see in old pieces again, the quality is from the crafts and not from material only. So you really have to have the crafts is much more important. You can make from little paper. You can in Japan they make these little puppets from paper only, but it's not about the paper. It's about what is done with it, the spirit that is blown into that material by the maker.
Or like
even that's my fascination when I look at observe the people making ceramics in HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW, for instance. That's amazing. Or the painting persons that are doing that. You cannot so much difference between a transfer and a hand painted. Sorry, Adrian, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say, like, even like recycled material. That's another interesting. It's not essentially it's the craftsmanship or the idea that gets put into something that's almost worthless. Then make it, not worthless, I suppose.
And craft does not necessarily mean skill. I mean, a children's drawing is amazingly beautiful, but it's not. So that's a handmade piece, but all the intention and all the so it's not always skills and craftsmanship are not always the same. A thought that crosses my mind. So
thank you, Jacob and Adrian. We put one question from the floor. Since the Earth, all the happening so fast. So how could how could all those changes affect your design and art or production? Because the time changing so fast, how could you manage to capture the moment of the traditions and to combine it with some sort of innovations from your brain to make it as an excellent art piece? Is it a difficult one since things changing drastically? People today talking about MFP, maybe tomorrow we'll be talking about MFP 2.0. So how could both of you see the rapid changes in the world, in the influence to your work and creation? Maybe Jacob, Adrian, feel free.
Well, when I can respond, I'm teaching now a lot in Delft, Technical University. When I studied here, it was all about product design. So you learn skills. When now the students are studying here, it's not about service design. So the product itself is seen as something maybe added to a whole service system. So I see a change there, but in the end, the real product, the actual thing, the actual object, it's a little bit fading out. That's a development I see. So that's something I'm working with as well, but that's something new maybe from the last couple of years.
Yeah, to stay ahead with the changes, to make sure every single second moment.
No, I don't mean that. I fully believe in service design. It's the context, but it's when I worked for Frog Design many years ago, all product designers were only product designers, and then they learned it's about branding as well, about corporate identity, and the product is seen as a message from the company, from a brand. So that was a new thing then, and I completely stepped into it. And later it became a profession. I'm a brand manager sometimes. So for me, it's no difference there, but things are changing. So now products have a place in a service system. So the students here design service systems. And part of that is to design a physical product. So that's something I see as a new thing in the field.
Yeah, gotcha. Adrian, how about you? What's your point of it?
It's kind of a different perspective, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But I referred to earlier in the intro about this this 100-year gap, pre-1911 and then till today, and it's understandable, at least for design in China, that the world is extremely different today than it was back then. I can hop on a plane and fly to Brazil, and get my inspiration from there. I don't even have to hop on. I can just go on Google Maps and go to go to Brazil. So there's so much information that you can absorb. It can be quite difficult to pinpoint, I suppose, a source of inspiration. So me personally, what I found very important was not to focus too much on like what's available, or like it's almost a distraction. It was looking at what's not available to people and how I can use that to like educate my clients and things like that. So I mean, just reading books, things that you can't find on the internet almost. That's kind of where I focus my my work. Of course, I embrace technology, and I don't work with a chisel and a handsaw. And that's like kind of a fantastic thing about living in today's world. But at the same time, I'm quite sensitive to like respecting like the old culture, and I love learning about like it's kind of like the stories that they tell us are so like meaningful to me. I kind of want to do it justice almost by not being too innovative in some ways, but I need to make it relevant in today's world as well.
Yeah, just like an organic approach, just like to work.
Yeah,
like an evolutionary process with your creation. So we've got like few questions coming in. Like there's one of the delegate attendees would like to know your Instagram account. I'm sure the team would be typing at the box. So another attendees, Ida Chow, she's got 2 questions for Adrian. So please let us know so that I can call them out. So perhaps let me move to the next question. Since both of you guys are working along on like transforming heritage or getting some traditional values in the modern design. So may I know what's the line to take? Is it like a corridor or like a yellow line you guys cannot pass, just like to overwhelming the traditional values in your art piece, or just like getting one of the essence from the traditions, like the pyramid, or like the ancre, or the special materials Adrian mentioned? Is it a line in your creative process, or is it just like everything's so organic, you're creating what you are going to do? So maybe start with Jacob. What's a line?
Well, to understand heritage, because I like to work for mass market. So you want your clients to be have a good feeling that your product will land in the market. So you have to know the heritage, you have to know the traditions, you have to know biophilia. Biophilia is what is really in the person. Like the shape of the sun is not only drawn by Egyptians, but it's deep in children even. They know the sun is an ellipse. So which deep things we know. A horizon is a very natural shape, even in interiors. There's always a horizon. It refers to human nature and human biology. And when you know your traditions, you can create products that connect to the traditional, already the knowledge people have, not only knowledge, but emotions people have. So it makes a product more easy to understand. And the other thing is, of course, when you design new products, it should, even when it's a new innovative object, it always has to have something of the old one. For the iPhone, the icons that I use refer to old notebook or the old products that connect, that so people can make the connection to the new products. In Delft, there's a whole important study here is done exactly after this item. What is already in the knowledge? How far can you go to design a new product that it enters the market, and that will never change. So new icons arise. Now everybody knows how an iPhone looks, so it's easy to use that formal information into a new product. So I think for designers it will be very important, and So that would be my response to that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. So we may say that technology could really help in terms of like the transformation or the interpretation of the traditional values in the modern products in terms of product design.
Yeah. In fact,
So,
products that are very technically very innovative, like a car, even electrical cars, look very much like normal cars or old-fashioned old car with fuel in it. So it's always a package of something people know. Maybe the inside is very complicated. So there's an interesting gap there. How far can you go that people still accept it? So that's very interesting field of understanding for designers and manufacturers.
Yeah, it's a good one. So Adrian, what's your point of view? But before that, we've got the questions from Ida. So in terms of the two pieces to show us in the video, can you let us know the materials? And the second question, did you make any furniture with the Daotie design? TAOTIE.
Yeah, that's also kind of related to the previous question.
Yeah.
But most of the materials are most the traditional materials. So bronze, brass, wood, and then obviously the turquoise stone. You can get synthetic stones too, but like I mentioned, it's very important to have the natural stone. In terms of the zoomorphic design of the masks, that was something I decided to not get too absorbed in. I was more, and it's also related to what Jakob is saying, where that might be almost maybe unattainable for some people in terms of appreciation. So there's that line there that you have to look at. So for me, it was just focusing on the pieces. I looked at what was the part which is most appreciated, and back in the day, if there was anything inlaid, it would have either been in bone or turquoise. And turquoise, it doesn't grow like a big boulder like jade. So you couldn't carve as complex things. So that's why it was the inlaid. On top of it, bone is just white, and turquoise was it's not white. It's a different color, and that's what people that's what was so prized. So it would have been very important or wealthy people in that civilization that had these prized pieces. So that's what I was kind of focusing on there. And then the mosaic, obviously. And this idea of casting the stone, it's, of course, those pieces don't have slate or anything like that, but it's that sense or that emotion of looking at something, 3,000 years old, that sense of ancient as well, that I decided to focus on, less so on the, you could say, tribal nature of, well, it wasn't really China back then, but of that particular region.
Okay, so Ida, would you like to speak up? Can the operator unmute her, please? Yes, thank you. That should be an excellent follow-up question from Ida. Go ahead.
Those were my two questions. I typed them. Those were my two questions that I typed, and Adrian just answered. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Yeah,
thank you, Adrian.
Very,
very interesting talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So since Adrian, you are still holding the mic, so let's do something interesting. If you're able to ask Jacob one question, what would be that question regarding on design, keyword page, innovation, and transformation? Over to you, Adrian.
Yeah. It's do you have a favorite project, or from the ones that you explain, and why is it your favorite project? Why was it your favorite project?
Well, it's easy for me to answer that. It was the Van Gogh Museum. When I was asked by the Van Gogh Museum shop, starting with in 2005, I was really in a hard period of my life, and a change of work and everything. It was a kind of catharsis moment for me. And then suddenly this question came from them. And I started reading the letters by Vincent van Gogh, who was and it was very inspirational writer. And I took it on my holiday, and it started. So I feel very connected to the person of Vincent van Gogh. Maybe many people, of course, many people are, but this is my story then. And I was so proud I could help him to spread his art, and could support his vision that his art should be for everybody, and so on and so on. And that was it was so coherent between my own personal life and my job to do. And I worked there for 5-6 years in different positions. And at the last, I was able to organize to be responsible for the whole visual style of all expressions. So yeah, that was. But I did beautiful projects, and I love my work. My work is my life, not my life in the sense it's so important for me. My friends are more important, my family is more important, but I love what I do, and I love being with students. So, but this Van Gogh, this museum project was my favorite. Yeah, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Jacob. We've got one question from the floor. So, when does tradition and the new innovation in design clash? Do we need to make a balance of tradition versus new innovation when it happens?
Maybe Charles, can I maybe interrupt you and ask a question to Adrian, because maybe
yes,
in line with what I'm telling.
Yeah, sure. Because yeah, you've got the ball at the
sorry for that. I'm really sorry. But my question for you is, because I expressed about Van Gogh Museum, and Vincent van Gogh really wanted his art to be for everybody. That was his deep wish. He liked graphics, copy. But you, I mean, just about your opinion for mass market and for multiply. Is your art always a single piece? Is my question. Is it for a gallery or kind of that circumstances, or can it be multiplied? What do you see? How do you see a future for your work on that level?
From a perhaps more technical standpoint, in terms of like production, I don't see it that way, because it's technically very difficult to do. I mean, just the inlay that takes and quality control and things like that. Yeah. In terms of like maybe appreciation, that would be more along the lines of a mass market like viewership, I suppose. I do think about having, well, I mean, everything, I'm sure you agree with this, design, has first and foremost, to me, it has to be pleasing to the eye. And if it's obvious that way, that's already one step in the right direction for me. In terms of like the tradition and perhaps the narrative, that's something I'm a bit more hopeful that people are willing to learn and willing to understand something new about their own culture, or a different culture, and seeing how that applies today, almost. But from like, I mean, in terms of do I want to sell a million copies of the thing? Sure, but maybe not.
I think that's maybe the short way, but there are other ways maybe to spread the spirit of what you want in different ways.
Yeah.
In a way, I'm really thinking we should connect after this meeting. We should connect about this.
Yeah.
I think maybe there are ways maybe to share the core, the spirit of what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As Adrian, we've got since the time is running out, but we've still got like quite a few questions coming in.
Okay.
So allow me jumping in. From Candace, question to Jacob: in your experience with your design designing for the mass market,
Yeah.
did that give you sometimes a restriction in your design? Mass market, I need to cater the customer needs. Did you sometimes have to compromise with your own design insights?
Well, I love mass markets. I really cannot think small. It's hard for me. Let's say I'm looking for, I want to spread my love for a certain object, or I don't know, with as many people as possible. That's in my belly. So I feel even more restricted when only a few people can have it. That would be not nice for me to know. Only a few people can afford, or can a small quantity only, so be collector's items, stuff like that. I don't like so much. I love IKEA. I can share now in the open. I love what they're doing. I know Monica Mulder very well. She's one of the top designers from IKEA. It's so really clever what they're doing there, but on the level of design, I mean. So I think it's very interesting to.
No, and it's actually like a lot of mid-century pieces, they were produced for the masses too.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the narrative is kind of changed. Now,
the Bauhaus, I was educated at the Rietveld Academy of Art. And the Bauhaus was a big thing there. The Bauhaus really had the intention was to have products for everybody.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So is that an answer to your question?
Should be for all good products or good design or good transformation of heritage. Should be for all. I'm sure that's some sort of like the key principle on product design, or even though contemporary design.
Maybe.
Before we really conclude, since we are really running out of time, we've got one more question for Adrian from the chat box. May I know, do you employ any local artists to produce any designs or products?
I work with
Christina.
I work with local artisans, and that was always the goal for me. It wasn't to
the exchange.
Yeah, it was. I didn't want to go to France or UK. From a logistics standpoint of view, it doesn't make sense in the first place. And B, when I came back here, and I traveled around China, looking for the right people that could do this. And I noticed actually that, well, A, they're not so easy to find, but in terms of, let's say, hardware, China is the factory of the world. So why not, right? The difficult part of it is finding someone that kind of I get along, like understands what I'm trying to do.
To get some more like inspirations from the locals.
To an extent, yeah, but it's more like look, they have all the hardware, but they don't have the software yet. Okay, so for me, my job is to provide them the software or like the direction almost. So just a quick example of it is in Jingdezhen. Okay, so that's been the factory for imperial ceramics since 1,000 years ago, right? And today, the quality, the workmanship, the hardware, everything is some of the best in the world. However, for the most part, a lot of the production that comes from this place is still replica. So it's that kind of innovation and that creativity that's only just starting, you know, in recent times. And for me, it was very interesting to meet people like this and talk to them about, hey, you know, because they can create ceramics that are paper thin, right? But they're still making the traditional shapes. What if you did like an espresso cup or like something a bit more, something like that? That would be, you know, fascinating. So I wanted to source like the labor, I suppose, locally. With the stones, that was locally as well.
Yeah. Can I add something to what you say now, Adrian? That's
Yes,
very
please.
interesting. The whole Designer Alliance project that I showed you my design about is about European designers making new designs for this Chinese conglomerate of lighting industries. They say it's 30,000 different little companies and big companies collaborating, and I want to launch for the Chinese market this Design Alliance brand with designs by not only European, but real new designs made for the Chinese market as a new product, so not to copy. But the whole idea about Designer Alliance is this. So that's connects maybe to your story, Adrian, what you shared there. Yeah, and that's why I like so much to work for this company, because this is amazing. You have a Chinese market, and they really have the power to bring all these products to the Chinese market in retail and everything. So that's amazing to me. And because it's the flat lamp, it's in a flat box. You just take it out, chuck, and you have your lamp.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do really think we should have more sections like this. But before we really go, since we've still got questions coming in from the same. So Jacob, have you thought about like exploring Jindejing, or because of the connection with Delft wares? Since Jindejing is famous for ceramics, if you are like connecting with them with the Delft ware, so that could be a really good like potential combination. That should be something Christine wanted to address.
Yeah, the question of Jingjian, of course, the connection with Delft there. Yeah, well, to be honest, I've never been there, but the company HEINEN DELFTS BLAUW has a factory in China and has a factory in the Netherlands. And the factory in the Netherlands is for the hand-painted traditional ceramics. My lamp is made in a traditional way, but in China they have a factory where they make in a very high quality the more mass market products for this, with transfers, but on a good quality level. So this company is already there. I've never been there myself, but the production manager of the plants I know very well, and I know the process. There's a lot of interaction between those two. So it's one company. So a European company owns a Chinese factory to mass market to mass produce ceramic objects. So. Yeah.
It sounds great. So please keep us all updated to any further development on this project, since time is really running out tonight. But before we really go on, so last five-side question: best drink in the world? Maybe start with Adrian. Best drink.
Sorry.
Yes.
Adrian first.
I have I wouldn't call it a nasty habit, but coffee. I have to have my coffee.
more like creativity.
Yeah, so coffee. Coffee I like a lot as well. But rake, I lived in Istanbul for quite a few years, so rake is the drink there. You drink rake in the evening when the sun goes down on the Bosporus, and you have little foodies, and you drink your rake. So it's ice cold, it's alcoholic, but I love coffee as well, Adrian. So I drink a lot of it every day. So we have a lot of coherences. Yeah.
Great. So again, thank you very much indeed, Adrian and Jacob, and for all the attendees joining us tonight. Sure, we may not be able to address all the questions, but do keep the conversation alive and exchange at the Dutch Day Facebook page and on other social handles. So thank you very much indeed for both gentlemen doing a really good conversation for all of us tonight in terms of heritage and innovation in both the East and the West. So have a nice day ahead. Have a good day, good evening. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye, all attendees. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.